Today I'd like to talk to you about the importance of using the right kind of splitter for satellite TV. And for those of you that don't know, a splitter is a device that takes one input signal, say from a satellite dish, and divides it up into two or more output signals that you can then send to multiple receivers and therefore TVs to different rooms in your house. And this splitter here that's used for over-the-air antenna television works the same way. It takes the input signal from your antenna and then splits it up so you could send this to two or more TVs depending on the size of the splitter. But there are some key differences between this over-the-air antenna splitter and this splitter for satellite television, and that's what we're going to go through today. So even though these splitters both look similar to each other, every satellite TV splitter I've ever seen has always had the specs printed on the front of it. That is to say, its frequency bandwidth, as well as these arrows that say power pass. That's a special feature that satellite TV splitters have that antenna TV splitters don't have. And we'll look at that a little more closely in a minute here. But looking back at this antenna TV splitter here, you can see it's a little more generic and nondescript. It doesn't have any specs or information on it at all. But I do have one that's still in the package, so we can have a look at that for a little more information. And if you look on the side of the label here, it says for cable and antenna, and that's not entirely true. Modern cable systems require splitters with a much greater bandwidth than this antenna TV splitter has. And looking at the label a little more closely, here is the bandwidth for this splitter, 5 to 900 megahertz. And that is only good for over-the-air antenna television, which travels through coax cable at this frequency range. Satellite television signals travel through coax cable at a much higher frequency range and therefore require a different splitter. And looking at the frequency range of this satellite TV splitter, you can see it has a much wider bandwidth, 5 to 2400 megahertz or 5 to 2.4 gigahertz. And here's another satellite splitter here that has an even wider bandwidth of 5 to 3 gigahertz. And that can be helpful in ensuring that you're not missing any channels that may be transmitted on either the low or high band of satellite signals. And that's because satellite signals travel through coax cable at a much higher frequency range than over-the-air antenna signals do. So that's why these splitters are necessary for free satellite TV. Another special feature satellite TV splitters have is the power pass feature. If you look closely here on the label, you can see it says power pass with arrows that are pointing towards the input on the splitter. And what that feature allows is voltage to travel back from your satellite receiver back to the LNB, because your LNB on your satellite dish requires voltage in order to operate properly. And that's just something that antenna TV splitters cannot do. So that's why it's important to use a satellite TV splitter with satellite TV. So it's really important to use the right kind of splitter for the right job. This one is for over-the-air antenna television. It has the correct bandwidth for over-the-air TV. And this one here is for satellite television. And it has a much wider bandwidth than an over-the-air antenna splitter. And if you don't use the correct splitter for the correct job, then you're probably looking at the possibility of missing some or all of the channels that you wish to receive.